Make sure I'm tuned out here.
Yeah,
and we are live. Hello, hello.
Yes, we've got a lot of people in here now.
Yeah,
Or not
we've
a lot,
got
but some.
Andrea and Jane and Marie and Barb and
Yep.
scroll up
Hello,
a little
everyone.
bit.
Hello.
Shelley. Hi, people. I guess the people like watercolor, huh?
I think they just like live streams and they'll come no matter what we do.
Oh, well, that could be too. Tell us, what do you like? Oh, I got to get a sip of coffee here. Oh, that was good. Oh, I needed that.
I finished my tea. It's already gone. It
So,
was Thai.
For those of you who are not in the live stream, this is a live stream for Art Joyous Sharing, which is a Facebook group that we do each Thursday, 10:30 Central Standard Time. And we're glad you joined us, whether it's live or late. We're glad you're here.
Yes, welcome, welcome.
What you got there, Shell?
Well, here's what's been going on, right? So I've never had any like nice watercolors. I have koi watercolors, which I use a lot, and I've had some others that are more kind of like a gouache, like the Gansai Tambis and those type. And Peg was getting into watercolor, and so she had ordered this box from this lady on Etsy that was just like she was, clearing out stuff, and she'd gotten a whole bunch of really nice, expensive watercolors for a really good price. And so the lady had another box. So Peg got me that box, and then we switched. So I sent her the colors that I got, and she sent me the colors that she got, and I made a palette. Plus, Peg sent me this extra palette that she had. So this right here is my swatch book, and all it is just some watercolor paper, and I've written the brand at the top, and then I've made a large area for me with each color. So like these are the M grams, and I've swatched them all, and then the Soho and the Daniel Smith and the Lucas and the Mission and Turner, and then I've got some Winsor Newtons and some Grumbacher Academy, and those were all from the tubes that we got in those 2 boxes from the lady who was clearing out extra stuff. So I have a large swatch book with large swatches so I can really see what it is, and then in the palette we just each filled up half pans for each other. So this is all the colors I have, and I also made a little swatch thing with the brands and the colors that fits inside here. So these are the watercolors I'm going to be working with today, and I've just got everything out, and this is the one that Peg also sent me that she was changing into the half pans, so she sent me this one that you can't take anything out of. It's nice to have these little pans because you can take them and put them in a travel palette and travel with the colors that you like, because they just snap in and out, whereas this one they can't come out, but there's all nice colors in here too. So I've got that.
Yeah. Honestly, use whatever you have. I don't care if you just get a plate from the dollar store and put your stuff out on it.
Yeah, but if you're really going to get into it, it's nice to have everything in a way that you can see what you're doing. I think we need to welcome Sybil and Vicki and Becky and Nancy, Rennie, Jane, Terry, Cindy. I think I hit everybody.
Hi.
Welcome, guys.
So glad everybody's here.
So here's the other thing I'm excited about, which I had no idea. Arteza has these, and over Christmas, apparently they had the 3-pack of them for really inexpensive. This is a fantastic journal. I love the shape, and I love the paper inside of it, which is a watercolor paper. And then it has a little pouch in the back that you could put ephemera if you wanted to. I'm a collage person, so if I wanted to travel with it, which it's small enough to throw in a bag, has a nice little pocket in the back. 110-pound watercolor paper. And Peg also sent me this because she bought a pack of them that comes with 3. So I guess Peg
I
really
wanted
wanted
a
me to do
watercolor with
watercolor.
me.
It's like, I'm like, oh, I have to make a book and I don't have any nice watercolors. Wine. She's like, oh, I'm sending you a box. This is how Peg works. I have 1 page done, and it isn't even in a video yet because I haven't edited the video. But I was imitating different people's styles that I like just to get started. And I did make some sketches this morning that I could watercolor. So that's what I'm going to do.
Cool.
So what have you got, Peg?
Well, I've got several different things. This month I've been working with different water mediums because, we all have things in our stash. Not everybody has a set of M-gram watercolors or, but we all have things in our stash. We have ink pads. We have colored pencils, watercolor pencils. We have ink tints. We have the first thing I'm going to use today are these water-soluble markers because I thought people might want to see what this looks like on something. I've wet. Yeah, well, there's Tombow and Marvy in here because my original love was the Marvy marker because I used to use these on my stamps. And nobody says that you have to sketch. Stamps are good for this.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got, if you look out here on my desk, okay, let me set. And my journals, yes, this is the Arteza one like hers. But look in your stash. If you have other things, this one is the Strathmore. And I use it for a number of different things, but it does have watercolor paper in here. So it's good for a lot of different things. But this is the Strathmore 400 series watercolor paper. And it's the same orientation. It's 8.5 by, what is it, 5.5, 5.25, something like that. Same thing as this one. And this has the hard cover. They also make a soft cover one, which is like this. And you've seen me work out of this book also. I've got a lot of watercolor play, a lot of other things in here. And this has a flexible cover, but it also is a Strathmore and it's 400 series watercolor paper, same stuff. It just has a different cover on it. So, it's probably less expensive than the hardcover one.
And if you don't want a watercolor, this paper and this weight is great for mixed media too.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, if you look in my journals, you'll see that I do mix it up. It isn't just all watercolor in here. Let's see. Those are watercolor. Those are, yeah, see, these are markers on top, just playing around. These are doodle sketch playing around with pens and things. So, I mean, it's smooth enough that you can use pens on here. What I would recommend is if you're going to use pens, well, it depends on the pen. And I'm gonna show you some of this kind of stuff too today. Hi, Peggy. Getting over the flu. Oh, ick. Hi, Beck. Good morning. So anyway, that's where we are with that. So I did do a couple of cards, because I want to show you that you don't have to draw to do watercolor things. All right. This one has embossing on it. What I did is I stamped and embossed in white.
Oh, that's a beautiful technique because you get kind of a resist look when you use the embossing.
Yeah, and if you don't want the embossing there later, what you do is you lay a sheet of just absorbent paper on top and iron it, and it'll lift the emboss, and then it just looks like you've got a blank line there. So
yeah, I used to love doing that back in the card making days. That was one of my favorites.
And everybody looks at it and says, "How did you do that? How did you do that?" So I'm going to start with this one, and I'm just going to lay some color in, or some water in, before I add color and get the paper wet. do kind of a wet on wet here.
Yeah, I'm just going to paint for an hour and a half. So
yeah, I'm not going to be precise. I want some bright colors, so I think I'm going to start with these Sohos. Now, these are not as expensive as some of these others.
I really like them though.
But they're nice paints. They really are.
Yeah.
They really are nice paints. So, you know, if you're thinking about what can I get, this is a nice paint to go with. And I'm just going to work it out here. I'm not going to take a lot of time and be fussy because, you know, this will probably just start as a card front or something later. And then, you know, I can pick up other colors then, like this Cad Orange, which is another Soho, and drop it in here. And it's going to follow the water. It's going to follow. And I'm just going to keep working. So who's working along with us today? Tell us, who's working with us today? Oh, your son got it too. Oh, yuck. So sorry.
That junk is going around.
Yeah. Yeah, my sister-in-law got it, ended up with pneumonia, went to the hospital. This week she got moved to a care center so she can recuperate. It's like, oh, man. Nasty stuff. Take care of yourselves, people. If you get sick, go in, get the Tamiflu, do what you need to do, because I don't want to see anybody in that condition.
Yeah, nobody wants to have to go to the hospital because they didn't take care of it when they needed to, you know.
Yeah.
Which is what seems to be happening in a lot of the cases of people around me. It's like, I'm going to kick it all by myself, you know.
Yeah.
And then they don't, and then they ended up in the hospital. So.
Yeah, well, my son had it too, and well, he works for a medical facility, so I'm sure he got exposed at work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was out for a week with it because, you know, he can't go in and work in that condition. So keep a rag handy. You know, if you get a little too wet, you can mop some of that up. But yeah, flu season is here for sure.
I haven't even gotten the flu shot.
Well, you've been a little busy taking care of everybody else.
Yeah.
All right, what color do I want on my, I think on the butterfly. On the butterfly, I might do some of these iridescents on the butterfly.
Ooh, yeah, iridescents are pretty.
Yeah, this is my iridescent palette. I had these koi, and I just put it in a tin. This is a, I don't know, pencil tin or something that I had that I put my metallic watercolor in, and then I added. Shell had these metallic gouache that she sent to me. So I've got this array of metallic gouache.
Those are pretty.
Yes, they
if you
are.
If you like a little bit of bling with your watercolor.
I like bling.
Not a lot. It's subtle, but it's pretty.
So I think I'll start with some of that gouache for the butterfly. Because I want my butterfly to shimmer.
I think if you're going to be a butterfly, you're going to want shimmer.
Yep.
I know I would. Probably put something under there so I don't make a mess. Me make a mess?
Me either. Barb says she's playing along today. Yay.
Good job.
Hey, Rennie, playing along too. Cool. I look forward to seeing what you guys make.
We'll remember to do art. We're here to inspire you to do it. Just do it.
Just do it. This is a pretty, this one is one that I actually mixed some time ago. Gina and I were playing around with some of those cheap dollar store makeup things. And I had some gum arabic. And so I was mixing my own dollar store pigments here. And you can do that too. Like if you've got eyeshadows and stuff, you can mix some of your own.
They've got really sparkly eyeshadows at our dollar store that you could pick up and use for mixing your own. All right, what should I do with these weird birds?
So let's see. Let's do a little.
What colors do I want?
These are the Lucas. And what is it? Not Cheap Joe. It's oh my goodness, I was just there. Art of the Carolinas, Jerry's. Jerry's has the Lucas, and they're not terribly expensive either, and they're a nice watercolor.
Yeah, some of these ones that I have here in mine, they came in that box are Lucas. Big tubes. I think it came with big tubes.
Yeah. I think they're like 2 ounces or better, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't know. They were large.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that'll last like my entire life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, maybe not. Maybe you'll really get into watercolor.
And then I'll just use up an entire bottle of Lucas and say, wow. I mean, tube. I'll be like so impressed with myself. Whereas the Daniel Smiths come with like teeny, teeny, tiny little tubes, you know. It's funny.
Yeah. I would like to do some watercolor canvases, you know. I think, you know, it's doable.
Yeah.
All right. So what color do I want in the background?
Let's see.
Let me start flooding.
Got so many Indian yellows.
Back here and see what I want in there. I think I'm going to go with this is another one that Shell sent to me. This is a Mission Cobalt Green.
Pretty color. I guess another thing we should talk about is brushes.
Yeah.
Brushes are important in watercolor because you need something that is fat up here, up in this part. It needs to be fat, and then it needs to be able to come to a point. And then the water gets up in this part and it distributes itself through the tips, so you don't have to keep dipping. So I have these are Uric brushes. I've got a Princeton, which is a pretty popular brush. And then this one is an inexpensive brush, but I really like it. It's the Zen from Royal and Langnickel. And it comes with this metal. I have a few different sizes here. It comes with a metal ferrule, which makes me happy because these three have wood. And I'm a brush abuser, and it could happen that I might accidentally leave my brush sitting in the water.
Oh no, not that.
And the wood swells up, splits, and then all the like, you can see this used to be a painted brush. It has wood, which is almost like coming apart, but all the paint has come off of it because the wood swells in the water. So having a metal ferrule makes me happy.
The ones that I abuse the most are the ones that I use with my acrylics. My watercolor, I am a little more cautious about. You see here on my desk, I have a rest for my watercolor brushes so that when I am not using them, they can rest on that. I also have, this is a little water reservoir thing that I got from IKEA. So I've got 3 different pots to rinse with. So I've got my dirty water, my less dirty water, and my clean. And when you rinse, you want to, push your brush up against the edge, to wring it out a little bit, and go to your next one, and then before you go back into your paint, or, if you're going into your paint or back into your paint, sometimes you want to take a little bit off of your brush if you want it more intense. If I want more water, I go back to my paint and get more water. I can mix it on my pan, however you're working. But I like to have a rest, which keeps it out of my water. It reminds me, don't leave that in the water because your water brushes will get warped in a hurry.
Yeah.
The tips will get bent and then they're not good for you anymore. So I like to make sure that I take really good care of my watercolor. But I'm not as good. I will admit, I'm not as good with my acrylic brushes.
Oh, I've used my acrylic brushes like nobody's business.
Yeah.
But I don't use these watercolors anywhere near acrylic.
Yeah.
They're not allowed.
Nope, not allowed. And the brush I'm using today is Polar Flow. This is a cheap brush from Jerry's. And actually, we got it for a class, and I didn't end up using it for a class. And so I'm using it for this because we actually got it for an acrylic class, but I liked how it held the water. It's got a nice fat bottom here, and it holds a lot of water. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to use this with my watercolors. And I have a number of other brushes. I don't have a lot of them out here because I wasn't intending to use them today, but I have some specialty brushes. And I also have the water reservoir brushes because I use these all the time. One of the new brushes I picked up is this one, which is a silver velvet, and it's because I intend to do some larger pieces. And this one has the tip to do those, leaf shapes. If you're stroking and you're getting those leaf shapes or those curvy lines or going around things, this is a really nice thing to have. What other ones do I have that I can tell you about? One of my favorite is this Steve Quiller. It's a Richeson's. And then this one, which is a Princeton. These Princeton are good brushes, not expensive. Yeah, so I mean, I have a variety of watercolor brushes depending on what size I need. And then, of course, for those of you who need really small ones, I have the small ones too. So yes, you become a collector of brushes, different shapes, different brushes for different purposes, right?
Right.
So while this is still damp, I want to find my salt. I think it's out here. Okay, so I've got some Morton's coarse kosher, and I'm just going to sprinkle that on my wet background. And set that aside to dry.
Good for you.
Actually, I might moisten it just here. Okay, and you can see already the wicking action with the salt where it's starting to pick up. I need a little bit more. Need a little bit more right in there, I think. You can play with it a little bit. But it's going to give a lovely effect.
Oh, a lot of people are talking about a lot of stuff.
Oh, cool.
Vicky said she went to a real art shop and priced brushes and about fainted. Yeah, I got these two Erect ones, at Dick Blick. I think it's Dick Blick. It's like the only one in the entire state, and it's in Phoenix. And they were like $30 for a brush.
Yeah.
And then I went online. I was like, okay, there must be something better than that. And I ended up finding other ones for a much better price.
I tell you. Well, and honestly, different brush companies have sales on them periodically. I mean, one of the companies that I like that runs sales is this. Nope, wrong brush. Come on, where are they? Of course, I can't lay my hands on it right now. It's the silver brushes. Yeah, here's a silver silk 88 cat tongue. You see how it's shaped? So it's a really nice shape to work with. So like if I want to do some fancy work in here, let me get this other palette out. I'm not digging this one as much right now. It's more nature. These are the more bright ones.
And I would think I might want to rearrange my palettes at some point. I sorted them by brand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it might be nice to resort them by like intensity of color and color family. Maybe.
Yeah, I kind of did that. I mean, if you look at this pan, I have my Van Gogh over here.
Mm-hmm.
These are the core here. This is my M grams. These are Lucas and Turner and Mission Gold. So, I have a variety in this pan, but I kind of, if you look at this palette over here, these look very natural. And I kind of did it in an array. And then, I tried to keep the yellows and the brights down here. And as you go up through the pan, they make some sense. Some of these came in later, so they don't make sense. I'll probably redo my palette later because these all pop out and move around. So
yeah, that's what I liked about the pan idea was you could get them out.
yeah. So anyway, like this one, let me show you. If I pick up Let's just get a little this yellow ochre from Van Gogh. And I've got my markers in the way here. If I get this, I can make, you know, those nice shapes with it because of the way the tip of the brush is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right now all I have is round brushes. I don't have anything fancy.
So you see what that's doing is making the marks easily for me. If I want to pick up a little bit of that, let me get this over here. I want to pick up a little bit of that green, you know, and then start adding some foliage. Whoops, that was a little bit dry. Start adding some foliage, you know, I can get very thin lines or I can get thicker lines for leaves. I can turn it on its edge. So you see the shape of this is helping me as I work. So, you know, if I just want to create some of those leafy shapes without doing anything other than turning my brush, you can get a lot of stuff going on with that. So anyway, back to what I was doing. So I was saying you don't have to draw all the time. You know, you
Right.
can just use a stamp and add your coloration with a stamp. So, you know, this would be very pretty with just some colors added to it. Now, I like this Lucas Indian Yellow, so I'm going to get a little bit of that. And I can lay that in here, and I can add some other color. I'm going to switch brushes back to my round to the magenta, and it'll start blending in, making a beautiful blend here. And then I want to go to a dark, so I'm going to grab this this Turner Indigo and add in a little more water, a little Turner Indigo. Get the blend going. That's a little darker than I want. And you can see how I can create with those watercolors really easily. And then I will probably pick something just to do the background with that's not, and I'm bleeding out because this stuff is still wet. Something that's very neutral over here to do the background with. So I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to go to what I started out with here today, which is using what I had in my palette. Get these out of the way. And remember, if you've got this stuff, remember to set it aside and let it dry. You know, leave your stuff open so it doesn't rust. One of the things that you learn early on, you know, when you're a kid and you open your palette and you say, how come my watercolors are all rusty? So what I have here on this page is just a simple sketch. And I'm going to go to these markers. I have these markers. And I'm going to go to my water reservoir brush, and I'm going to squeeze it. You know, you don't have to go to a sink to fill it if you got water on your desk. I'm just going to stick it in my water and suck some of that up. So I've got a little bit of water in my reservoir. Okay, so I'm going to start with some of these greens, I think. Pull out some of these greens. Judy lost connection. Sorry, Judy.
It's no fun.
Like several people are having some trouble this morning. Cindy's having a little trouble. That's really cute, Shell.
Thanks. You know, it's going to have pen work.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that. So here's the Marby and the Tombow. Now these two colors are very similar, but the pens are just slightly different. If you look at the tips, they both have a brush tip. The Tombow is a little bit thicker than this one. And let me see, do I have a piece of watercolor out here?
Dry a little bit.
Push down on the tip. This one seems to be a little bit more flexible. So
what colors do I want? I don't know.
That's for the brush tip. And then on the other end, the Marby and the Tombow have a fine tip. And you can see they're entirely different. This one is a true fine tip, like your, what do you call those? Like your microns. And this one has a bullet fine tip. So depending on what you like. I put the wrong lid on there. There we go. They have options. So I really like having a combination of them. Even though the shades are very similar, you've got different tips to work with. So I'm just going to start on this with, I think I'm going to start with some of the plume from Marby. And I'm going to get my water brush.
I used to have a ton of those back in the stamping days.
Oh, they're talking about Creativation. Yeah, not a lot going on there, is there?
I wasn't that impressed. But hey, you never know.
Yeah.
There might be something amazing and I just missed it.
So far I haven't missed it, I'll tell you. So I'm gonna just put a little bit in, and then I'm gonna add some other color to that. And I'm going to take my water brush. I'm going to start blending that out. I had wet the page before. Yeah, it's gotten too dry. One of the hazards. Okay. So I really wanted it to have a little bit of moisture, because I want those I want the page damp so that these markers will move a little bit. And when that's not doing what you want it to do, you just pick it up off of the marker with your brush and start laying it in. Or you can also, you know, if you don't want to go to the marker, put a little bit of that marker down on your surface here. And then use your water brush to add the color in. And I need a darker. Get the shadows. Okay, I definitely left this sit way too long.
Yeah. Need some of that green. It's a cool color. What color is that? No. It's not marked. I like it though.
You like it though, huh?
Yeah, it's the one that was not marked when you sent me this palette.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's right here. It's not marked on the paper, so I don't know.
Really? Huh. I don't know.
I don't know either. But I like the color. It's kind of an olivey, sort of a green.
Yeah.
Yellow green, green gold type color.
Cool.
It's pretty.
Oh, you know what? That might be that same, is it that, Daniel Smith, the Serpentine Genuine?
It's definitely a similar color to that. So it could be.
I might have needed a green and just put some in that palette.
Yeah. It does look very similar because I got the serpentine over here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's probably what it is, actually.
That's going to have to dry because it's a hot mess. But one of the things I should tell you guys about is, you know, there are what's called scrubber brushes. And you can scrub some of that stuff back if you need to. They look a lot like this and they're very stiff. And so you can take some clean water and, you know, very gently scrub some of that out. I'm going to leave this page alone because it's a hot mess. We're going to go over here. That's the thing about watercolor. You need to keep working on what you're working on. Or let it dry, because in between things, yeah, not so good. So I'm going to move over to some mushrooms.
Mushrooms. Mushrooms are fun.
Mushrooms are fun. So, speaking of mushrooms, what color do I want to use with them?
Mushroom color.
I think we'll do a whimsical. I don't know what color this one is. Yeah, it's a nice deep red.
Just an intense color. Right there.
So I'm going to do what I started over there. I'm going to wet this down a little bit on the interior. And then add a little bit of that red in there and pull it out.
Indian yellow is not messing around, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
That's like, nope. That is one bright color. I think it was that one, wasn't it?
Sorry if I'm not reading the chat right now. I have to hold my tongue right and breathe.
Yeah, we're not doing a lot of chit chat. But it's because, you know, paying attention to what we're doing. So
Yeah, you got to kind of pay attention a little bit. A little bit.
just a little bit.
But I'm darkening. I'm darkening this edge, like the shadows on this side and the sunlight is on this side. So as you add more water, you're going to get that lightening over here. And then I can always come back in with a pen.
Yep.
And add some more ink. I want it deeper.
Here's the problem I have with watercolor. And it's just purely a habit problem. Is I don't like to leave white space. And in watercolor, you can't go back and erase it. Once it's there, I mean, you can lighten it a little bit, but you can't take it back once you put it on there. So that's a problem for me. And I just need to retrain. I need to retrain my brain to think about it, you know?
But one of the things that you can do is you can use some white gouache. You can use a white pen over certain areas, you know, if you need to.
Yeah. Which I will, and I do, but I need to train my brain to just think about the fact that the white should just be left there instead of trying to go and cover every single thing which is my normal, you know.
Right. It is because, you know, you have to think about where the highlights are. Like if I want to highlight on this, I do not want to put any color in that area.
Right.
So you have to.
It's tricky.
Pull back from what you're doing here.
And since I primarily use acrylic, which is opaque in a lot of cases, I'm used to being able to go back and add the light at the end. It has made me lazy, people. I'm lazy. Not engaging my brain. Where's that green color again? Serpentine Genuine. I like Serpentine Genuine.
Yeah.
It's a pretty color.
So anyway, a lot of times I will start something like this and I will let it set aside and dry, and then I'll come back and put another layering over this. So I think this is kind of at that point where this can sit aside and dry. I could put some red in on this other mushroom cap, you know, but for purposes of demonstration, I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to go to another book because that's why I have multiple books.
She's smart. She has multiple books. I just have the one right now.
Well, I move between them because I like to have things that are drying and things that are wet and ready to go. So, I mean, here's a watercolor where I had colored in the page with some mushrooms. And, you know, here I was testing out different things, you know, where I've drawn another pot, and here's where I put some colorization in, but now I have a pot there to draw on. Here I've added this is just ink that I've used to watercolor with. And so you can see here's one that I left where I can just doodle on top of watercolor splotches. And this is a lot of fun. So you can just take a pen, you know, I'm putting the wrong thing on here. You can take a pen. I like where is it? I like this pen for doing my doodling on things like this. This is a Pilot multi-ball. It has a nice tip. But if I wanted to, you know, just doodle something on top of here. And one of the channels that's really good at this, if you watch Creations by Cece, she does a lot of doodle watercolor.
Oh, yeah, she does.
So this is just, you know, something very similar to that, where you just doodle. If you don't want to do freehand drawing, get a stencil and stencil on top of this, you know. Let's see, find something in your stencil collection that you like. Let's see. I pull something out here. Okay, here's a kind of a cool design. You know, take your stencil and just doodle through your stencil on top of here. You saw that other page. That's what I had done, is I'd taken a stencil, and then once I draw the outline of the stencil, I go back and doodle inside of the stencil areas. And the nice thing about this is you can go back and set the stencil back down. You know, if you're on the go and you just want to take a bunch of stencils and your book that's got some swatches of color in it with you when you're going someplace, this is a really relaxing thing to do.
What color shall I make its beak? Dang it. I'm having problems here. I realize that if I make its beak color, it's going to blend in too much.
Well, make it an imaginary color.
Well, that's probably what I'm going to have to do. I have to decide what color that is.
So you guys see how that works on top of there? Real quick and simple designs. You know, there are stencils that have script and floral designs. I mean, this one would be really pretty. Here's a stencil that's got trees, you know, so if you're afraid to draw your trees in here, use a stencil. So there's all kinds of things that you can do.
All kinds.
So, okay, that's doodle. Here I've just masked out and done a doodle on top of watercolor, where I just laid some watercolor down and then I came in and doodled on top of it. What else was I going to talk about today? Oh, yes. And then those stamps that are made to work with your markers. I've got a whole collection of them here. These little stamps are great. So like if you want a watercolor effect and you don't necessarily want to draw all of it out yourself, you can use some of these things. Let me dump these out so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. I mean, cute little fruit pieces, like if you're doing a fruit basket, solid leaves that you can doodle on top of, flowers, funky designs, grapes, you know, I mean, all of this stuff, your markers to create. So like if I wanted to, let's see, I've got a set over here somewhere. Get rid of this. If I wanted to create a tree, say, there are sets that have things like stalks. And you might even look at what you have in your rubber stamp collection, because you can mask things off. Like you guys have seen me use some of those Stampscape stamps. But like here's a little tree, and I can just take my marker and color this stem, and I can start creating a scene with my stamps. And getting something down here to create from. And you can do first, second, third generation. You can change up the colors. You know, it's just, you're creating your own forest here. They're saying great birds, Shell.
What?
They're saying great birds, Shell.
Oh, thank you.
So then if you've got, you know, different leaf things, different grassy things. Do I have a brown? Yeah, I got some browns. Let me get a brown right here. Get my forest going. And when you do this, if you're creating something, you know, a scene like this, when you do your second generation and stuff, do it further back, because those are going to be mistier and in the background. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. You see how they're trailing off into the background. The things that are closer are going to be sharper. So then you can take something like a, what have I got? I've got some little spriggy things, and you don't have to use the whole stamp. You know, like I'm looking at these, I'm saying, oh, there's a cool spriggy thing, and there's a little grassy thing and some flower things. And I can take something like this and a different color, and I can use several different colors here because I'm layering up from behind. So I'm not going to color the whole thing. I'm only going to color part of it. And I'm going to start layering in some greenery. And this is the first color layer. I know Vicki will appreciate this because she loves trees. Okay, so now I've got one color down, right? Now I'm going to go to a darker color. What did I do with that lid? There it is. Try to keep my lids on there and tight. I'm going to go to a darker color, grab this Tombow, and I'm going to switch to the other end because maybe those leaves are a little bit different, and start stamping in that other color on top to get a layered effect. Okay, so that's the beginning of this. Then I can take, let's get some grassy stuff. What have I got here? Should have something out here. Don't need a hello. Probably don't need that. Yeah, here's a little grassy something. And you can use your you know, like your water soluble ink pads too for this. You don't have to use a marker. Here's another little grassy something. Or you can just, you know, start. I'm going to turn this around and get my fine tip. I'm just going to make some little grassy things here in the bottom. And I'm going to, you know, extend that out here across the page. Then I also want to create using, I don't know if you guys have seen these types of fountain pens. But you can use this fountain pen ink to create with also. So, you know, suppose you want some hills back here behind all of this. I can take that fountain pen and create some hills. And these are all water reactive. So I can take a water brush and I can reactivate those purple mountains back there. Just like that. And I can bring them down into some foothills. I could add, you know, another layer of gray and some rocky things down in below. You know, I could take something and do a kiss off where, let's see, let's get a water soluble ink in a, what's this color? This color is what? I don't know. We'll try it. Gonna add some of this. Oh, that's because it's not a, that's an embossing ink. It's not a color. Come on, folks, give me a color. I want a greenish something. Okay, here's a, oops, sorry. Here's a bundled sage. And so I can add some first and second generation bundled sage. I can actually stamp it here and then do a little bit of that into the foothills back there. And add some, what else do I have here? looking to see what I want. Okay, I am going to I'm going to add some water. I'm going to spritz the trees because I want that to move a little bit. That was a little bit too much right there. So I'm going to dab it because I can come back in, add some more color over the top. I want my other spritz bottle, which doesn't squirt quite so much. And just, do a little blending out. I'm liking what I'm getting there. For the background, I need to dry because we're going to put another layer on top. If I can get my there we go. Hi, Holly. Hi, Marilyn. Yeah, absolutely doodle in your book. Absolutely. So, can you guys see that just creates that misty background layer? Start with, and now you can start layering up. That's still a little wet. Now you can start layering up. And like I said, you don't have to use the whole stamp. This is a bigger stamp. I don't need the whole stamp, but I do want to add some of that texture. So I'm going to use a portion of that to texturize. And I'm going to go back to that bundled sage again with this stamp and create some of that tree leaf. We can even put back in some of those tree trunks that we had created originally. You can do that with a stamp, or you can do that with like here's that Marvy La Plume. I can come in and add some tree trunks through here with that La Plume and get some little branchy things going out.
I don't know what color.
And then, once again, get something to add a darker shade. That was the, what I call that, bundled sage. Now I want to come back with something like, what have I got here? I've got peeled paint. I've got mowed lawn is a little too green for me. I want something that looks natural, like trees. So I'm going to pick this one. And when I stamp the first time, it's going to be close and then further away. I can even stamp off. But what we're getting then is that tree type effect. And then I can also, you know, dab at those sharp edges with my water brush to make it look more realistic, like a watercolor. You want to use the side of your brush. And it just helps to blend some of that out. Okay, so you can keep building on this scene. You know, I could put birds up in the sky. I can put little foliage things down here in the grassy area. You know, I can take some brights like this and put some lupines or something in here. We can add some, if I want to make it more whimsical, I could add some bright little butterflies to the sky. But if I want to do a broad thing in the sky, I would take a bigger brush and I would wet that sky area with a bigger brush. And then I would probably pick up light blue. Now, there are these big fat ones too, these Marvies. Probably get some blue and purple for the sky. See, these Marvies are big fat ones. You get a lot more juiciness out of that. And I can water that down a little bit. And I can just go in and start painting in a sky with puffy little clouds. I'm going to start sounding like, what's his name? Bob Ross? Yeah.
Happy little clouds.
Do some happy little clouds. A little bit of purple. I think I want to add a little more purple into these foothills here.
Can't have too much purple.
This is just a Chinese. They're folk art made for dye brush, but they're a nice wide brush. So if you need to get color down in a hurry, it's a nice brush for that. Artsy wannabe Nancy, hello. Okay, so you can see I'm building the hills here. We also need to get a little gray, maybe a gray green. What other colors do I have in these? Let's see, I think I used this one, which was a purple, right? Oh, no, that's a blue, I think. Nope, it's a purple. No, it's purple. That's the one I used. Okay, so these are cheap varsity markers, these pilot ones, and they work really well for this too. But if you want to, running off the edge here, if I want to add another layer of hills or grassy area back here, you know, you can do that with these different colors. And we're just gonna get a wet brush, mop it off a little bit, and then I'm gonna go back and blend some of that out. So you can see you can just keep building and building and building. And then if you had some stamps that look like something a little bit rocky, which I probably
I don't have another book, so I have to dry.
okay. But there's a lot of stamps that are made to do these scenic type things. No. Here's some more pine type trees. So like if I wanted to make a hill with pines back here, I could do that also. And I would take my brush, wherever it went to, and I'm just gonna blend that out a little bit. And then I would dry that off. I would keep layering, folks. I would just keep layering until I build the scene that I want.
Just keep layering, just keep layering.
Just keep going, just keep going. Okay, so the other thing, doodlers, and you like to, you know, do your drawing first. This is that other book that I was playing in. Just trying to find. Yeah, you can do this sort of thing with those ink pens. So you can start just with a blank page like this. And you can take one of these water-soluble ink pens, and you can just start drawing. You can just start drawing your doodles, you know. And let's see, what else do I want to make? Trying to give myself an idea here. Oh, yeah, we'll do some more daisies. What the heck? Daisies are always fun, right?
I would think so, yes.
And one of the things that's good about doing a doodle like this, you know, add your leaves and things, do funky, fun things. But then I like to create borders on the page and link this stuff together. Things can run over. It's okay if things run over. And, you know, cross over your borders, because then you make more doodle spaces like this. Because then I've got places that I can come back and add more line work, more dots and dashes, you know, all of that sort of thing. And I can write words in here. I can say make. And don't make your writing perfect, you know, because let's face it, perfect is not there. The thing about this is nobody's going to complain if it's not perfect writing. You know, use upper and lowercase, use both, and you get a much more fun effect. Make art. And then you take now that you've got a simple doodle like this, I can take that water brush, wherever that went to, or I can grab another one. Because we all know I have a multitude of them. Get this out of the way so I can get this up where you guys can see it better. So now I can just use the ink that was in that pen, and it becomes what I color with. And, you know, like Shell was saying earlier, remember to leave space where you want the highlights. Keep a cloth handy, because the color is going to build up on your brush so that you can brush that off. And just start pushing that ink around till you're happy. And this is a real fun doodle effect. All you need is your book and a pen and a water brush. And how fun is this to take with you someplace? And, you know, you can take double lines too. You know, when you want more color, make more lines. Just like that. But I think about, you know, sitting around waiting rooms and stuff. This is a real easy way to distract yourself. "5-minute warning," she says. Yep,
Oh, I got a 5-minute warning. I guess I should stop doing that then. So I can flip through. So you guys will recognize probably when I show you my pages here, I've been imitating some of my favorite artists. And I bet you can recognize their style. That's so wet. Ah. So this one, Joanne Sharp. I took a class from her a long time ago about lettering and using watercolor with your lettering. So I started with her on my very first page. And she was talking about how it's important to use your handwriting. And so I've been trying to do it, but I sure hate that handwriting. But then you kind of fatten out your letters and make them interesting once you've written them. So.
Yep.
And then this one is Jody Ole.
Oh yeah, I just took a
Bird.
class with Jody. She's awesome.
I don't think she does them in watercolor. I think she does acrylic, but the shape of the birds is her quirky birds.
She does quirky animals and houses and stuff like that that are fun to do.
Yeah. And then this is Tamara Laporte.
Ah, yes.
Style, which it'll have pen work like this one. It will have Posca pen. And then this one is just a color study. Not any particular artist, but. And then I had another one ready if I wanted to paint a sunflower over here.
Cool.
Didn't get that far. So
yeah,
that's what I did today.
Yeah, well, you can't get through everything. I think we covered a lot of suggestions about, how you can play in a watercolor journal. So, I'm still continuing to play around with this one, and I can come back and add more lines and things over the top of it. But in essence, this is more of a Joanne Sharp type thing where you do one color study like this. Okay. And here's where I was practicing just, scribble lettering and that sort of thing. Doodling on top of colors. This is all a play journal in here. I think you guys have seen this one where I did the flowers. And yeah, I don't always have my book turned right side up when I'm doing this. I'm just, playing around. But this is just a play journal for me. Here's where I used watercolor in the background, but I put other things on top of it. This is a, watercolor background where I did some lettering. Same thing here. A lot of these are those types of practice things. And then we'll go back to what we were doing earlier. Here's the mushroom start, where I was adding some color into the mushrooms. Here's the scenic one where I was starting on that. This journal has, we were doing the doodling. This journal has a lot of different types of things in it. Pen work with a stencil, more of the one color study type stuff. That was a stamp that I carved. And this one is, just yet another one. Oh, this is the one I showed you. Never mind. This is the one that I started this month, which is this journal, where I'm doing more of this type of work. I started on doing a daily thing. Yeah, haven't kept up. Life has gotten in the way. But you can see I've got sketches and things where I'm trying things out and just having fun in a watercolor journal. I mean, here's some more mushrooms that are ready to paint. Here's where I splattered a bunch of stuff on there. This one is the one that I need to clean up with the cactus from today. So, those are all fun things. This is the one that we started with the colorization first thing this morning. It's got the salt on there. What you do is you rub that salt off because it makes a texture in the background. And then what I'll do is iron off that embossing powder. And I might do a little doodling over the top, but this is a fun technique. And can you guys see where the salt is changing the background? It's absorbing some of that color. See, it's still stuck here. I've got to get it rubbed off. So, and then that one. So that's watercolor workout. Now we're going to be doing more watercolor next month. So, be sure and come and join us. Get out all of your watercolor mediums. That's what I've been doing, is playing with a lot of different things that I have, not just the watercolor pan sets, but you saw me with pens and markers and, crayons, and think about all the things that you have. I've got things I haven't even used yet, like these stubbies. These are Stabilo stubbies that are water soluble. I want to see what you guys.
Next time we have it on here, I'll get out some different ones. I wanted to try out my new pans.
Yeah, I will definitely be trying out my new pans because they are awesome. Thank you, Shell, for sharing what you have. And that's it from us for today. Any questions out there? Thanks, Holly.
Marilyn says she learned a lot today, and Barbara says she loves your play journal. Holly says she's glad she stayed because they're awesome journals.
Thanks.
Cindy says nice works, ladies.
Okay, well, we'll see you guys soon, okay?
Bye-bye.
Stay warm, stay well. Bye. Come on.